All right, so you want to get the whole picture of Charles Schwab, right? Like, how does this financial giant actually work?
Yeah, you want to look under the hood, see what makes them tick.
Exactly. And we've done just that. We've dug into their 10K filings, some recent news, even legal documents, to figure out how they really make money and what makes them stand out.
Think of it like this. We're creating a 3D model of their entire business.
I like that. A 3D model. So instead of just looking at the surface, we're going to dissect their core operations, see where the money's coming from, where it's going, and how they're holding up in this crazy competitive market.
Yeah, I mean, imagine you're thinking about investing in Schwab or maybe even working for them.
Right. You want the inside scoop beyond the headlines,
Yeah.
right? What are the real things you need to know?
That's what this deep dive is all about.
Awesome. So Schwab, they report four main ways they bring in the cash.
Four main revenue streams.
Right. And those are net interest revenue, asset management and administration fees, trading revenue, and bank deposit account fees.
It's interesting, though, that net interest revenue, that's their big kahuna.
It's the biggest one.
Oh, yeah, by far.
Huh. So how does that even work?
Well, think about it. They have all this client cash that's just sitting there uninvested.
Right. Like people waiting to put it into the market.
Exactly. So Schwab takes that cash and invests it. They buy things like bonds and loans. And of course, those earn interest.
Yeah.
And the difference between what they earn and what they pay their clients.
Is there profit?
Bingo!
Interesting. But I remember the Fed, they've been raising interest rates like crazy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Didn't that mess things up a bit?
Well, clients, they don't want to leave their money in low-yield accounts when they can get better returns elsewhere.
Makes sense. So they probably started moving their cash around.
You got it. And that meant Schwab had to find other ways to fund those interest-earning assets they use.
So they had to get creative, huh?
They had to. And one thing they used was brokered CDs, which ultimately, it impacts their net interest margin.
Ah, I see. So it's like this constant dance trying to keep up with the market shifts.
Yeah, it's a balancing act for sure, even for a giant like Schwab.
Right. Speaking of market shifts, I noticed that while Schwab's trading revenue dipped a bit in the first quarter of 24, there was a noticeable increase in equity and derivatives trades.
Interesting. What do you make of that?
Well, kind of seems like investors might be moving towards riskier, more complex trading strategies,
Yeah, maybe reacting to all that market volatility we've been seeing.
or maybe just trying to maximize returns, given how things are going.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good sign that even with a dip in overall trading revenue, there's still a strong appetite for more active trading.
Okay, let's talk about some of those other ways Schwab brings in the money. What about asset management and administration fees?
So it's not just about holding your money, right? They're offering a whole suite of services.
Yeah, like mutual funds, ETF, all that.
Exactly. And those come with fees.
Right, of course.
But here's something interesting. They actually waived a bunch of fees on their money market funds.
They did. Why would they do that?
Well, think about it. It definitely impacts their revenue, but it's a huge benefit for clients. More money in their pockets.
True. But it does make you wonder, was it some kind of strategic play to build loyalty in uncertain times?
Maybe. Or, maybe they're trying to counter the rise of those robo-advisors and low-cost competitors popping up everywhere.
Could be. It's a bold move, you're saying.
Definitely. Now, another big revenue stream is, of course, trading revenue. Every time you buy or sell, Schwab's making money. Mostly through commissions and, that thing called payment for order flow.
Ah, yes, payment for order flow. That's been getting some attention lately, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's basically when brokerages get payments from market makers to direct client orders their way.
Exactly.
And it's, well, kind of controversial, to say the least.
Right, raises questions about conflicts of interest, whether clients are getting the best possible prices on their trades. It's definitely under scrutiny. But, it's worth noting that Schwab offers different platforms for different kinds of investors.
Oh, right, like their ThinkPipes platform. That's for active traders who need all those fancy tools.
Right. And then they have iRibble, which is more for, registered investment advisors, the RIAs.
Okay, so they're trying to cater to a wide range of investors, from DIY to the pros.
Exactly. And then, to round out the picture, you've got bank deposit account fees.
That one's a bit simpler, right?
It is. Schwab earns fees from TD Bank for things like sweeping client cash into deposit accounts. Just another way they diversify their income.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've covered how Schwab makes money. But what about the flip side? Their expenses.
Right, because you can't run a business without knowing where the money's going.
Exactly. And let's not forget, this is a service-heavy business, right?
Oh, yeah. So compensation and benefits. Major factor.
It's got to be expensive to attract and retain all that talent, especially in a competitive industry like finance. Salaries, bonuses, stock options,
It all adds up.
and then there's technology. You can't skimp on that these days. Robust platforms, security, the whole nine yards. But it's got to be a delicate balance.
It is. Invest for growth, but keep those expenses in check. It's tricky.
Well, I did notice their spending on software amortization has been going up.
That's a good sign, actually. Means they're serious about tech development. Upgrading software, adding new features, maybe even looking at acquisitions in the fintech space.
So it's like an arms race, constantly evolving to stay ahead.
Exactly.
Then there's the more traditional stuff, occupancy, equipment, all those branches, offices, those massive data centers.
Right. And don't forget, they acquired TD Ameritrade, which adds another layer of complexity. Integrating branches, closing some facilities, it's a lot to manage.
Oh yeah, mergers and acquisitions, always a wild card.
And then the final piece of the puzzle is regulatory fees and assessments.
Right, you can't forget about those.
Especially with all the recent bank failures and the special assessments they had to levy to cover those losses.
It's a stark reminder of how much it costs to keep the financial system stable and trustworthy.
Absolutely. So as you can see, Schwab's operating in a pretty complex environment, balancing profit, compliance, and the need to innovate.
It's a lot to juggle.
It is.
Yeah.
But so far, they seem to be managing it pretty well.
Okay, now let's zoom in on the core of it all, the customer. What is Schwab offering that makes them stand out in this crowded market?
They call it the no trade-offs approach. They're basically saying you don't have to choose between a great investing experience and affordability. You can have both.
No trade-offs, I like that.
Mhm.
But how do they pull that off?
Well, choice and personalization are key. They've got all these different relationship models, advice solutions, platforms. Whether you're a seasoned investor or just starting out, they aim to have something that fits.
So it's about making investing accessible no matter who you are.
Exactly.
And what about technology? They're obviously investing heavily in that, but how are they using it to make a difference for their clients?
They're focused on creating user-friendly experiences, providing comprehensive tools, offering 24/7 support. They're really leveraging technology to empower clients.
So it's not just about flashy apps. It's about actually helping people manage their finances better.
Absolutely. Removing those barriers, making investing less intimidating.
I like it. So by combining this no trade-offs philosophy with all these choices, personalization and technology, Schwab's creating a pretty compelling value proposition for their customers.
They are. They're hitting all the right notes.
Now, how do they differentiate themselves from the rest of the pack? What makes Schwab stand out from all those other financial giants out there?
Well, one of the big things is their integration of services. Unlike many of their competitors, Schwab offers everything under one roof. Banking, brokerage, wealth management, you name it.
So it's like a financial one-stop shop.
Exactly, and that makes it much more convenient for clients.
And probably keeps them coming back for more. It's a pretty smart strategy, creating that sticky ecosystem.
It is, and then there's their operating efficiency and scale.
Right, being one of the biggest players has its perks.
It does. It allows them to offer competitive pricing without sacrificing profitability.
It's like that classic economies of scale thing. Spread those costs out over a massive client base.
Exactly. They can offer better deals than smaller competitors and still make a healthy profit.
It's a pretty potent combination.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about how they make money, what they spend it on, and what they offer their clients.
We've laid the groundwork.
Now let's dig into what keeps it all running. The critical operational activities. What's happening behind the scenes that's essential to their success?
Well, right at the top of the list is client acquisition and retention. Growth depends on bringing in new clients and keeping the current ones happy.
It's about building a strong reputation and making sure people trust you with their money.
Exactly. And then, of course, you've got technology development and maintenance. It's the backbone of everything they do. Security, client experience, you can't afford to fall behind.
Especially with all the cyber threats out there and how fast technology changes in this space.
Absolutely. And then there's that unglamorous but essential part, regulatory compliance.
Right, navigating all those rules and regulations.
It's crucial for maintaining trust and avoiding penalties.
So Schwab's operational success really hinges on attracting and keeping clients, staying on top of technology, and playing by the rules.
It's a delicate balance.
It is. What are your thoughts so far? What's standing out to you the most about Schwab's operation?
You know, I'm really struck by this no trade-offs philosophy.
Yeah.
It seems to be more than just marketing. It's woven into their operational decisions.
Right. like waiving those fees on money market funds.
Yeah.
That wasn't just about profits. It was about doing what's best for the client.
Exactly. They seem to have found a way to be profitable while still prioritizing client value. It's not an easy balance to strike.
Okay, now let's zoom out a bit and compare them to the competition. How does Schwab stack up against other big players like Fidelity and Vanguard? What really sets them apart?
That's a great question, and I think it all comes down to their unique value proposition and how they leverage that integrated platform to offer something that others can't.
I'm intrigued. Let's unpack that a bit further.
So we were just talking about how Schwab measures up to the big dogs like Fidelity and Vanguard, and one of the things that really sets them apart, that no trade-offs thing, it's not just talk.
Right, it's more than just low fees. It's like they're trying to give you the best of both worlds.
Exactly. Premium experience, no hidden costs, no compromises.
Like the Goldilocks of financial services.
Haha, yeah, I like that. Is that right?
But how does that actually give them an edge over someone like Fidelity, who also has tons of resources?
Well, that's where that integrated platform we talked about really comes in. Remember, they offer everything: banking, brokerage, wealth management, all in one place.
Right. It's like a one-stop shop for your finances.
Exactly. And that's a huge advantage because it allows them to create a more holistic experience. They're not just looking at your investments, they see the whole picture.
So they can personalize things more.
Absolutely. They're using data from all those different touch points, your banking, your trades, your financial goals. It all feeds into creating a more tailored experience.
It's like having a financial advisor who really knows you.
Precisely. And that's something that Fidelity and Vanguard, with their more siloed approach, just can't match.
So it's not just about having a lot of stuff, it's about how it all works together.
Right. It's about creating a seamless experience that makes sense for the client.
That makes a lot of sense. But things change so fast in finance. New technologies, changing client expectations, all that. How's Schwab adapting to all this?
Well, that's the million-dollar question. To answer that, we need to look at where they're putting their money, things like technology, digital advice, and sustainable investing.
So they're not just sitting back and watching. They're actively trying to shape the future.
Exactly. It's not just about surviving, it's about thriving. And to do that, you need to be proactive.
Okay, so let's talk about some of those specific initiatives. We've touched on tech investments, but how are they actually using technology to improve the client experience and stay ahead of the game?
One area where they're really pushing the envelope is personalization. They're using things like data analytics and even artificial intelligence to create more customized recommendations and experiences.
So it's not just generic advice anymore. It's more specific to each individual.
Exactly. They're building what you might call a financial fingerprint for each client, understanding your risk tolerance, your investment style, your goals, your life stage, all of it.
Wow, that's pretty cool. It's like having a financial concierge who's always looking out for you.
Exactly. And that's something their competitors are still playing catch up on. Schwab has been investing in this area for years.
So they're not just buying the technology. They're using their experience and data to make it really work.
Right. It's all about using the technology effectively, not just having it.
Okay, what about digital advice? Everyone's talking about robo-advisors these days. How's Schwab playing in that space?
They're not just jumping on the bandwagon, they're being strategic about it. They recognize that digital advice isn't one size fits all.
Right. Different people have different needs.
Exactly. So they're offering a range of digital advice options. They have their basic robo-advisor for people who want something simple and low cost, but they also have hybrid options that combine digital tools with access to human advisors.
So like a spectrum of choices,
Yeah.
from fully automated to fully human, with everything in between.
Exactly. And they're constantly innovating, adding new features, and integrating those platforms with their other services so it all works together seamlessly.
It's not just a standalone product, it's part of a bigger ecosystem.
Right. They're really trying to create a unified experience.
Now let's talk about sustainable investing. That's a hot topic these days. More and more investors are looking for options that align with their values. How's Schwab handling this?
They're not just paying lip service to it, they're taking it seriously. They've realized that sustainable investing is the future, and they want to be a leader in this space.
So it's not just about offering a few ESG funds.
No, it's about integrating sustainability into their entire investment process. They're also making a real effort to educate their clients about sustainable investing, helping them understand what it is and how it works.
That's important because there's still a lot of confusion out there.
Absolutely. And they're practicing what they preach, incorporating sustainability principles into their own operations.
So it's not just about profits, it's about walking the walk.
Exactly. And that resonates with a lot of investors, especially younger generations.
Okay, now let's shift gears a bit and talk about risk management. Finance is all about managing risk, right? How does Schwab approach this, and how does that set them apart?
They take a very proactive and comprehensive approach to risk management. They know that risks can come from anywhere: market volatility, cybersecurity threats, regulatory changes, even just human error.
So it's not just about protecting investments, it's about protecting the whole business.
Exactly. They have a dedicated risk management team, and they're constantly identifying, assessing, and mitigating risks across all areas of the company.
And what makes their approach different?
Well, one big difference is their focus on technology. They're using advanced analytics and even AI to help manage risk.
So it's not just people staring at spreadsheets all day.
No, it's about using technology to spot patterns, predict potential problems, and automate risk mitigation strategies.
That makes a lot of sense. You can't rely on humans alone in this day and age.
Exactly. They're also making big investments in cybersecurity. They know that data breaches are a huge threat, and they're doing everything they can to stay ahead of the curve.
So it's a multi-pronged approach to risk management.
It is. They're really trying to cover all the bases.
Okay, now let's talk about growth. Schwab's been a major player for decades. But how do they plan to keep growing in this increasingly competitive market?
Again, it's about being proactive, anticipating future trends, and investing in the right areas.
So not just maintaining their current position, but actively expanding.
Exactly. Playing offense, not just defense.
Yeah. Okay, so let's dive into some of those growth initiatives. We already talked about technology, digital advice, and sustainable investing. But what else are they focusing on?
Well, one big area is expanding their reach into new markets and new client segments.
Like new geographic markets.
Yes, but also new types of clients. They're trying to attract younger investors, millennials, and Gen Z, who are more comfortable with digital solutions and more interested in things like sustainable investing.
Makes sense. That's a huge potential market for them.
It is. And they're doing this through both organic growth,
Yeah.
expanding their existing business, and through acquisitions like the TD Ameritrade deal.
Oh, yeah, that was a big one.
It was. And it shows they're willing to make bold moves to achieve their growth goals.
So thinking big and playing on a global stage.
Exactly. But they're also focused on enhancing their existing offerings, developing new products and services that meet evolving client needs.
So not just attracting new clients, but keeping the existing ones happy and engaged.
Right. They want to be the go-to financial provider for everything.
Now, one thing that's always impressed me about Schwab is their commitment to operational excellence. They're known for being efficient, controlling costs, and providing a seamless client experience. How do they maintain that as they grow?
It's tough, especially in a complex industry like finance, but they have a few key things going for them.
Okay, what's their secret?
Well, first of all, they have a strong culture of operational excellence. It's ingrained in everything they do.
So it's not just about having efficient systems, it's a mindset.
Exactly. They're constantly looking for ways to improve, to do things better, more efficiently, make things easier for clients.
That's impressive. Not every company has that.
They also have a strong leadership team that's committed to operational excellence. They're setting the tone from the top.
Yeah, leadership is crucial. But ultimately, it's the people on the ground who make it happen.
True. But leadership can create an environment where people are empowered to do their best work.
Makes sense. What else?
While technology plays a big role, they're investing heavily in automation to streamline processes, improve efficiency, and cut costs.
So working smarter, not harder.
Exactly. And they're constantly monitoring their performance, using data to track key metrics, identify bottlenecks, and make adjustments. It's a very data-driven approach.
So they're not just setting things up and hoping for the best, they're constantly analyzing and tweaking.
Exactly. It's a dynamic process.
Now let's talk about their clients. Schwab has been successful in attracting a wide range of clients, from everyday investors to high net worth individuals. How do they manage that diversity?
They have a very sophisticated approach to client segmentation. They understand that different clients have different needs and expectations.
So it's not one size fits all.
No, they've identified key client segments, and they have specific strategies for each one. Like what? Give me an example.
Well, for high net worth individuals, they have a dedicated team that provides personalized financial advice, exclusive investment opportunities, that sort of thing.
Makes sense. You'd expect a different level of service if you're investing millions of dollars.
Right. And they have another team that focuses on registered investment advisors, the RIAs.
So they're not just competing with them, they're working with them.
Exactly. They're providing RIAs with custody services, trading platforms, all the tools they need to manage their clients' assets.
That's a smart strategy, partnering with the people who are already serving a lot of clients.
It is. And they also have dedicated teams for things like retirement plan participants, younger investors, each with their own tailored approach.
So it's a multifaceted strategy, catering to different needs while still providing that core Schwab experience.
Exactly. And I think that's a big part of their success.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. What are the key takeaways from this deep dive into Schwab's business model? What should our listeners really remember? Well, for me, one of the biggest takeaways is that Schwab is built to last. They have a strong brand, a loyal client base, a diverse revenue model, a solid technology infrastructure, and a commitment to innovation.
They're not just resting on their laurels, they're constantly adapting and evolving.
Right. And they've shown a real knack for navigating changing market conditions and keeping up with new technologies.
Another key takeaway is that they're truly client-centric. They're obsessed with understanding their clients' needs and making their lives easier.
Absolutely. They're constantly innovating, developing new products and services, improving their digital offerings, all to meet those evolving client expectations.
And they seem to be doing it in a way that doesn't compromise on quality or service.
Right. That no trade-offs philosophy is really at the heart of everything they do.
Another key takeaway is that, in many ways, Schwab is a technology company. They're using technology to improve every aspect of their business.
Absolutely. From their trading platforms to their risk management systems to their client-facing tools, they're leveraging technology to enhance efficiency, reduce costs, and create a more personalized experience.
And they're not just using technology for the sake of using it. They're using it strategically to create a real competitive advantage.
Exactly. They're very thoughtful about how they deploy technology.
Another thing that stands out to me is their culture of operational excellence. They're constantly looking for ways to improve their processes and do things better.
Yes, and that's reflected in their commitment to efficiency, cost control, and providing a seamless client experience.
And they're doing all of this while maintaining a strong commitment to ethical business practices.
Right. They're putting their clients' interests first.
So all in all, Schwab seems to be firing on all cylinders. They've got a solid foundation, a clear vision, and a strong track record.
Absolutely. And they're operating in a very dynamic industry, which presents both challenges and opportunities.
But with their client-centric approach, their commitment to innovation, and their focus on operational excellence, I think they're well equipped to handle whatever comes their way.
I agree. They seem to have all the right pieces in place.
Now, before we move on to our final thoughts, I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier, the whole idea of disruption. Schwab has a great track record of adapting to change, but what about those unexpected events, those black swan events that could shake up the whole industry?
Yeah, the financial services industry is ripe for disruption. New technologies, new business models, it's all happening so fast. Could Schwab be caught off guard? Or will they continue to adapt and thrive?
It's a good question. I mean, they have a lot of advantages. They're big, they have resources, and they have a great brand.
Right, and they're not afraid to innovate. But the pace of change is accelerating. Think about the rise of fintech startups, the growing popularity of crypto, the demand for more personalized financial advice. These are all trends that could potentially disrupt Schwab's business if they don't stay ahead of the game.
So it's not just about external threats, it's also about internal challenges.
Exactly. Can they maintain their culture of innovation as they get bigger? Can they attract and retain top talent? Can they keep up with all the regulatory changes? These are all questions that will determine their long-term success.
So it's not a given that they'll continue to dominate. They need to stay agile and focused on their clients.
Absolutely. But looking at their history, I wouldn't bet against them. They've overcome a lot of challenges in the past, and they seem to have a knack for adapting.
Now, as we wrap up this deep dive into Charles Schwab, let's leave our listeners with a few things to think about. What does the future hold for Schwab? What are the biggest challenges they face? And most importantly, what can we learn from their success?
These are great questions, and I think they're relevant to everyone who's involved in the financial world. The industry is changing rapidly, and the companies that succeed will be the ones that embrace change, focus on their clients, and continue to innovate. Schweit has a lot to teach us about how to do that. So we were talking about those disruptors, right? Things that could
Hmm.
shake things up for Schwab. It makes you wonder, can a company that's been so successful for so long, can they really keep up with all these changes happening?
It's a good question. It's like, can a giant tanker suddenly become a speedboat? But to be fair, Schwab's been pretty good at adapting in the past.
Oh, yeah. They were early to online trading, they jumped on the ETF wave, and now they're all over digital advice and sustainable investing.
Right. It's not like they're just ignoring what's happening around them.
No, they're making moves. The question is, are they moving fast enough? Can they really change their mindset? Or will all those legacy systems and the way they've always done things, will that hold them back?
Yeah, it's a tough balancing act. Use your strengths, but also embrace the new. Like, how do you change the tires while the car's still running?
Exactly. And it's not just about the technology itself.
Right, there's more to it.
It's about the culture. Being agile, being willing to question how things are done, make some bold moves. Schwab's done that before, but they might need to, really step it up now.
And one area where that agility is going to be crucial is with younger investors. Millennials, Gen Z, they have different
Oh,
expectations.
for sure. They grew up with technology. They care about different things. They want a different kind of experience.
Right. Can Schwab connect with them?
Well, they're trying. They've updated their app. They're pushing their sustainable investing options, trying to create a fresher image.
But it's got to be more than just marketing.
Oh, yeah. It's about the products, the digital experience,
Right.
really understanding what these younger generations want.
It's about meeting them where they are.
Exactly. Speak their language, offer them solutions that match their values, their goals. Schwab has a lot to offer them, but they need to make that clear, make it relevant.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Schwab, it's kind of bittersweet. We've seen what they've built, their commitment to clients, all the successes.
Yeah, they've got a lot to be proud of.
But then there's the question of what's next. Can they handle all these new challenges? Can they capture those new markets? Will they stay on top?
Those are the questions that'll define their future. And I gotta say, I'm excited to see what happens. It's gonna be an interesting ride, not just for Schwab, but for the whole industry.
It shows that even the biggest companies can't just stand still. You got to adapt, got to keep innovating, got to keep your clients happy. And Schwab, well, they've definitely shown they can do those things.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive.
Thanks for joining us as we explore the world of Charles Schwab. Hopefully you've come away with a better understanding of how they work and what the future might hold. Until next time, happy investing.